Hi, in today's video I'm going to be covering adding the do Modeline to Emacs, installing all the icons dired, setting up tab bar mode, and also adding the menu to the tab bar as well. So let's crack on and get this set up. So first of all, what we're going to do is actually install the Doom Modeline. So I've got the Doom themes installed with Doom Solarized as my default theme. And what we're going to do is install the Doom Modeline. So let me just increase the text size here. So first of all, we want to install the Doom Modeline, which is, if we come back across to Emacs, is this section down here. So what we need to do is run mx package install Doom Modeline, and then we're going to install another two packages that require that there's install all the icons, and there's all the icons dired. And all the icons dired is so you have icons in the dired file manager like this. So if I come across to something here, you see, here we go. You have different icons for different file types and stuff. Okay, so install Doom Modeline, all the icons dired, and after you've done that, what you need to do is run mx all the icons install fonts, and that's going to give you a prompt to download the fonts needed for all the icons. Now what you need to do is actually add a bit of code to your Emacs init.el, which stops Emacs being laggy when you have these fonts installed. What I found is if you don't add this bit of code, it's really going to slow down the startup of Emacs to a couple of seconds. So what you want to do is add setq inhibit compacting font caches -t, and then we add require Doom Modeline 1, and that's going to set up basically the Doom Modeline down here, and also add all the icons to dired. So we've got icons in dired here. So if I come into pictures, you see you have different icons for different file types like JPEG, PNG, and it does actually make browsing stuff a bit easier. So you can see here, you can see all the configuration files have got a little cog, and all the folders have got a blue icon, and you can see which folders are symbolic links. So it is quite helpful. So the next thing I'm going to cover is actually setting up the tab bar. This is tab bar mode. There's two new modes in Emacs 28. There's tab line mode and there's tab bar mode. Tab line mode, I believe, sort of shows you the visible buffers, whereas tab bar mode works on frames and allows you to do stuff like split frames. So I can split this frame and create a new tab, and you can see we've got a completely different layout in the different tabs. What's also nice is that you can cycle through these tabs using Control Tab to go forward and Control Shift Tab to go back. So let me just close that tab and reset this to one frame. So the other thing that you can do that's really nice is actually put the menu bar inside the tab bar here. And you can also change this icon, which I'll show you. The advantage of this is, especially if you don't have this full frame, if you have the frame maximized and you've got the known title bar here, then you'd have the header, and typically you'd have the menu bar here. It really uses up a lot of space. It really starts to push the prompt down, or where you enter text down. So it's really nice to actually keep this and have it hidden away here, but you've also got access to it. So you can actually check out the commands if you can't remember them. So I'll show you that, and also how to add a custom icon. So So what I'm going to do is actually just come across, and what we'll do is come across to the Emacs config. Okay, so what we've got here is a couple of settings. What we're going to be doing is actually styling the face of the tab bar, the active tab and the inactive tab. So I'm going to come across and actually show you what those correspond to in the interface in Emacs. So what we've got up here is, you can see this blue bar up here. This is the tab bar. Then this is the current tab, see, that is styled blue. And this is the inactive tab. So these are the three things that we're going to be styling. And the other reason that you want to hide the menu bar is because what I found is when you style this, you can get like a little line between this and the menu bar. So that's why we're going to put that in there as well. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So first of all, we've got tab bar, and what we're doing was we're inheriting the Modeline panel, which is the Doom Modeline panel at the bottom of the screen. And what we're doing is we're setting the foreground here. And what we've got next is we've got the active tab, so that's styling the active tab blue. And on the inactive tab, what we're doing is we're styling the text to grey, so that it's sort of greyed out, if that makes sense. So as you can see here, we've got the blue bar up here, and what that does is, because we're setting the foreground here, it gives the sort of illusion of a tab. So you've got the frame here, and then it extends up here, and we've got the little bar. So this is the active tab. This is the active tab now, so you can see it's grayed out. So that's the first section here. Then what we have is tab bar show 1. And what this does is this hides the tab bar if there's only one tab open. So what I'll do is come back here, and now if I exit here, what I'm going to do is use the keyboard shortcut to close the tab, which is ctrl-X-T0, ctrl-X-T0. And what you'll see is, because there were two tabs and I've closed the second tab, what it's done is it's hidden the tab bar. So the original first tab, the scratch tab, is still there. It's just hidden until I add a new tab. So that way you don't get a frame with just one tab. So if I control XT0, you'll see it closes. Control XT2, I add a new tab and it comes back. So that's what that setting does here. The other setting we have here is to hide the close button and the new tab button. So as you can see in Firefox here, typically what you have is you'll have a little X and you'll have a little plus button here. The tabs come with that by default in Emacs, but you can actually hide them, as I have, by setting the tab bar close button show to nil and the tab bar new button show to nil as well. Now the other thing that you can do is set a new tab bar choice. So every time you create a new tab, it will default to this buffer or a particular file. And in my case, I've got it just set to the scratch buffer. So every time I create a new tab, you can see here, it's just creating a new scratch buffer. The reason I did that is because otherwise, by default, what it's going to do is it's going to create a new tab based on your current buffer. So if you've got like diode open and you do a new tab, it's going to open the new tab to that previous buffer. So that's not something I wanted. I just wanted a blank scratch tab. So that's the new tab choice, tab bar new tab choice set to scratch. And then we've got tab bar close last tab choice, tab bar mode disable. And basically what that is that's where when we've got two tabs open and we close the second tab, it then hides the tab bars I just showed you. Tab bar close selected recent, I can't remember what that one is, to be honest. tab bar new tab to right. So that's basically when we create a new tab, it's going to put it to the right. So you could set that to be to the left if you want, but it just makes sense for me to have it to the right. Then what we've got here is tab bar hints. And what this does is this will add a number, a prefix to the tab. So you can see here I've got 2 tabs open. I'll just put this back full screen. So if you've got the tab bar hints enabled, what will happen is it will add a little number like 1, 2, 3 before the tabs, and I just found that a bit distracting, so that's why I've disabled it. So next thing we've got here is the tab bar separator, and you can see here I've got this set to an empty space, and I'll explain why you actually want to do that. So if I just switch back to Emacs again here, you can see we've got the 2 scratch buffers here. Now, if you've got if you set the separator to not have any space, the text will just be butted up together, so it'll look like scratch scratch as one big long word. So that's why you actually want to set the separator to be a space, and as long as you set the sort of background bar here and the foreground, it's going to give you the illusion of a tab, but with like a space between these 2 here. So if there was no separator, those asterisks would be joined together. So that's why you want the separator. Then what you've got here is customize the tab bar format to add the global line string. What you can actually do is add other items to the tab bar menu, tab bar tab on the right, so you can actually add things like the time and anything else from the Modeline, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted something that wasn't very cluttered. So next thing here is the menu bar in the tab bar. So first of all, what we need to do is actually disable the menu bar. So menu bar mode -1, and that's going to hide the menu bar in Emacs that would normally appear up here. And then let me just come back down here. So this is I'll see if I can find this website I got this from. But basically what this does is this adds tab bar format menu bar to the tab bar. So what we've done is we've hidden the menu bar that's normally under the header. And what we've done is we've put it here. So you've still got the menu, but you've got this little hamburger menu down there. So what I'm going to do now is actually show you how you can add a custom icon instead of that hamburger menu, and also how you can insert Unicode characters easily. So what I'll do is I'll just show you a quick tip on how you insert Unicode characters. If you press Ctrl X8 and then return, Ctrl X8 and then return, it's going to say insert character, Unicode name or hex, and you can actually put in the hex or Unicode name or actually search. So if I type alien, you can see alien monster. I press return and you can see here it now inserted the alien monster Unicode character. So what I'm going to do here is open Emacs init.el, and let me grab that bit of code that I was playing around with before. The monster, okay, where was it? Monster. Ah, here we go. So, right, tab bar, there we go. Let's just put this here. And the other thing I want to mention is the order. So what we've got down here, while I remember, is the tab bar mode. And what that does is tab bar mode 1 enables the tab bar, but you need to put this actually after all this code down here. And the reason for that is, you can see here we've got this tab bar show 1, as I said, where if you've got 2 tabs open and you close one, it hides the tab bar. If you have the tab bar mode above this block of code, what will happen is the tab bar will open, but it will actually show a single tab. So the reason why we have this down here below this, the other block of code is so that when we open Emacs, it enables the tab bar, but it doesn't actually show it until we open the second tab, if that makes sense. So that's why that's got to go there. Now this is how you change the icon up here. This is the tab bar menu tab bar. So as I said, what we do is we have set q tab bar menu bar button, double quotes, and then we insert the Unicode character with Ctrl X8 and then return. Search for the character, insert it. Now if I put the cursor at the end here and evaluate this last expression with Ctrl X, Ctrl E. Now if I switch, oh there we go, you should be able to see the little alien monster up there now. Okay, so we've added the alien monster as the little menu sort of drop down icon. Okay, so let's switch back to the scratch buffer. So and just have a search for stuff. So you can also run meta x insert character, I think it is, insert. Yep. So this does the same thing as Control X8 and return. So mx insert character. It will then give you the same prompt. So I could search for something like I think balloon. The balloon. Yeah. Now the other thing is if you start typing a couple of letters and then press tab, you're going to get this little prompt come up here. This little sort of another buffer come up, and you can switch to that and use the arrow keys to move up and down. So if I select that, if I select balloon, is it gonna? Yeah, okay. So I can select that like that. So you can do meta x8 return, and then start typing something like AP and press tab, and it's going to give you a list of all the symbols, and you just basically switch into this and you can move up and down. So that's how you insert the Unicode characters. Okay, come on, you bugger. And you can then use them as a menu icon up here. So let's have a look at the tab bar documentation. And let me just make that a bit bigger so it's easier to see. So I'll go through some of these settings here. So what we've got here is Control X T2, and this is adding a new tab. So as you can see, let me just switch back to Emacs. If I do Control X T2, you can see we've got a new tab here. We want to close this tab. So new tab is Control X. I'm not going to write it out because it's on the thing. But if I want to close this, I run Control X T0. You can also run Control X T1, which I believe closes all the other buffers. So Control X T1, and that control. So that, because I had two buffers there, let me see if I can do it with three buffers instead. Okay. So if I do Control X T1, it should close the other buffers. Yep. So that basically closes all the other buffers apart from the current one. So you've got Control X T2 to add a new buffer. You can select a buffer in another tab. So Control X T B buffer name return. So let's see what other buffers we've got. Oops. Okay, let's do Control X T B init.el, and what you'll see there is it's opened that buffer in a new tab. So Control X T B, switch to another buffer, and let's say Emacs, and you can see it's opening that buffer in a new tab. So that's opening a new tab with Control XT2, closing it with Control XT0. We've got switch to another buffer, Control XTB, the buffer name. We've also got Control XTF and then a file name. So these are like prefixes, because you may be familiar with Control XB for switch to buffer, Control X, Control F to open a new file. So these are kind of like prefixes. So if we do Control X, what's it? Sorry, Control XTF, Control. Okay. So Control X, T, and then F will prompt you for a file, and it will then open that file in a new buffer in a new tab. So Control X, T, F, find a file, open it in the tab. Control X, T, O to close that. So you've got two things. You can close the tab, or you can close the buffer and then close the tab, if that makes sense. So Control X, so I can close this tab, I can close the buffer, but the tab's still there, and it'll switch back to a scratch tab, and then I can close it with Control X T0. So we've got the same thing for diode, which I couldn't get to work for some reason. It wouldn't let me select a directory. Control X T, other tab. So I think this is like you can also run a command in another tab. You can run a sort of prefix and then start something in another tab. And again, here's the close the selected tab. Okay, Control X T0. Then we've got close all tabs except the selected tab on the selected frame. So Control X T1 closes all the other tabs except the selected tab. And then what it will do is, because there's just one tab, it will then hide the bar. So if I do Control X T1, you can see that the tab bars disappeared, the menus disappeared, because we've only got one tab. But as soon as I do Control X T2, it comes back. So that's how you can close a individual tab or all the tabs. And these are the commands that can be used to switch between tabs. So the easiest one is really Control Tab and Shift Control Tab, just like you would in the browser. So just as I'm in here, I'm doing Control Tab or Control Shift Tab to go back. The same key bindings work with the Emacs tabs, which is really nice for muscle memory. You can switch to a tab by name, Control X T, return tab name. This seemed to open a new tab, so if I open the tab there, Control X, what was it? Control X T, return and the tab name, Control X T. Damn, short-term memory. Control, yeah, return. Okay, it is return. Control T, turn, desktop. No, it does switch. Okay, maybe I wasn't doing it properly. So let me do this. Let me open another tab. So Control X T, return. We'll do desktop. Okay, it does. Great. So that's how you can actually switch directly to the tab and the buffer, because if I was if I run Control XB here, which will be switch to buffers, I'll do it on the scratch one here. So if I do Control XB and switch to buffer desktop, you can see it's opening the desktop in this tab. Okay. Whereas if I run Control XT, press return, I can then type in the buffer name and it will switch to that buffer in that tab. Control XT, return, Cerberus. So that's really nice. So kind of the advantage of this is you can, of course, you can do Control X, Control B, and you know, get your pop-up of your buffers here, or you can do Control X, B, see them down here in the mini buffer. But what's quite nice about this is when you're sort of working on stuff, you can actually see what buffers you've got here and easily switch to them by doing Control Tab or Control Shift Tab. And you can also easily switch them by name by Control XT, return. We do scratch. See, it's not default scratch. Okay, so yeah. So for the scratch, I had to type asterisk. So Control XT, desktop. So that's really nice. So to close this, Control XT 0. Again, this is the diode. All the icons diode. So the other thing that is funny is that you'll get sometimes, if I can come in here. Yeah, so sometimes depending on the file name you've got, it will add a particular icon. So like here we've got Dire Straits Making Movies, and it has given it a kind of movie icon. So sometimes you get this weird thing where it will sort of apply a particular icon to the folder depending on the file name. Let me see if I can find another example. Yeah, so if I come in here, I think there's one, code sign. Yeah, you can see here code sign. I've got a folder here called code sign, and so what it's done is it's added this sort of icon. So you can get into weird things like that sometimes, but not too often. But it's actually quite handy to be able to see at a glance, just using the icons, what the file types are. Let me see. So you can see here, for example, these are all like HTML, HTML, sort of HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So it is quite handy to actually be able to see it at a glance. As you can see here, these two directories have been given funny folders because for some reason it's decided to do that. So I'm not quite sure how you can get around that. So that's one issue, is that you can get sort of funny folders sometimes, because you can see these are the defaults. So like you've got desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures. It's quite handy for symbolic links as well. So that's the diode, all the icons, and we've got all the icons down here in the Doom Modeline. And again, we've got the little menu bar here. So let's have a sort of recap of all the things that we need to go through. So first of all, setting up the Doom Modeline, you want to have Doom themes installed, really. So install Doom themes. Set something like, you know, Solarized Dracula or whatever. And then we install the Doom Modeline, Emacs package install Doom Modeline. We then run Emacs package install all the icons diode, and after you've done that, what you need to do is run Emacs all the icons install fonts, and that's going to come up with a little prompt. Just type yes, and it will install the fonts needed. Now, the two things that you wanted to add to your Emacs init.el was set Q inhibit compacting font caches T, and what that does is that stops Firefox being laggy when you first start it up. If you don't have this enabled, it's going to increase the startup time by several seconds, especially on older hardware. So you're going to want to have that set up before require Doom Modeline 1, and that's going to enable the Doom Modeline. So the next thing we had was the tab setup. So I've got the same one here. So what we did again was the tab bar background. So the tab bar background is this blue line up the top. Okay. Then we have the active tab and the inactive tab. So we're inheriting the do Modeline panel just to style this stuff, and the tab bar, I'm setting the tab bar color so that this sort of matches that down there. So it sort of creates a sort of frame. Then we've got the active tab where we've got the blue highlight, and then for the inactive tab we set the text to grey. So as you can see here, blue, and that's sort of greyed out. And I find this is quite useful because this doesn't take up a lot of space, and you don't want to have white text really, because otherwise visually it can sort of interfere with if you have sort of white text or something, it can get a bit confusing if the text is actually the same. So having sort of blue here and that sort of bit grayed out, you can still sort of focus on this. So that's those bits there. Then we've got the tab bar show, and what this does, again, this hides the bar if there's only one tab open. So if there's only one tab open, it hides it. And then when you create a new tab, it shows the bar. We hide the close button and the new tab button, which are the equivalent of the little X's and little pluses. We set the new tab bar choice to scratch. Close the last tab. Forget what that one is. Set the tab bar to be on. Set the new tabs to be on the right. We disable the tab hints, which added a number. We set a separator to be a space, and this is again how you set the menu bar button, tab bar, menu bar button, and little Unicode icon. And then we've got this little section down here, and you can add stuff to the right side of the tab bar, and this was pinched from sort of System Crafters, which I'd recommend. And again, this is how we add the menu bar and the tab bar. I can't remember where I got this, so I'll have to have a look and see if I can put a link under the video. Add to list, tab bar format, menu bar. And finally what we have is turn on the tab bar menu after startup, so tab bar mode 1. And again, this needs to go after this section, because if you put this before, what will happen is it will open up Emacs with one tab showing, whereas if we put this down here, it will open up Emacs with no tab showing, and then when you create the second tab, it will show the tab bar, and then when you close the second tab, it hides the tab bar. And then finally we've got save desktop session, and I think this is because the tab bar works on frames, and you can basically sort of split stuff. So you can see here, so we can have actually sort of different layouts and actually switch between them. So that's really nice. Set that to 1. So that's the tabs. Let me just see if there's anything else I've missed from here. Yeah, so again, the other thing is hiding the menu bar mode -1. That's going to hide the menu bar. That hides the toolbar and the scroll bar. And that's the tab section. The evil. Okay, yeah, and I put the, where did I put that? I put the do mode line required, do mode line 1. And again, at the top, what we've got is this bit here. Don't compact font caches during GC. Secure inhibit compacting font caches. And this is needed so that it doesn't basically make Emacs stall when you first start it up. If you don't have this and you've got do Modeline installed, what you'll find is that Emacs takes a couple of seconds to start up. So you definitely want this set, and you want that set before your do Modeline. So let's have a look at the actual settings once again. You got Control XT2 to open a new tab. Control XTB buffer name. Select a buffer name in another tab. So Control XT2 opens a new buffer. Control XT0 closes it. Control XTB prompts you for another buffer, and then opens that in a new tab. Then what we had was Control XTF to select a file to open in a new tab. So Control XTF. You can see that opens that in another tab. Then we've got we've got Control XT0 to close the current tab. Control XT1 to close all the tabs except the selected tab on the selected frame. Then we've got the switching between the tabs with Control Tab and Shift Control Tab, and probably one of the most useful ones is Control XT return. So again, Control XT return is going to prompt you for a buffer to switch to, and you can see here, because there's only two buffers, it's defaulting to the other buffer, so I just press return. So you can see XT, because there's two, it's just basically toggling them. So this is really nice. So you can switch between them manually like this with Control Tab or Control Shift Tab, but you can also run Control XT return, type in the buffer name, and it's going to switch to that tab. So that's really convenient. So there's a couple other ones here. You can rename the current buffer, current tab name to whatever. You can move the tabs. So you've got ways of actually moving the tabs, tab move, but you can also just drag them. So you can actually pick them up and drag them. You should be able to see me dragging that tab with the mouse. So you can just organize. You can still drag them like you would a normal browser tab in, you know, your web browser. So I'll close that. So that's basically some setup for tabs, tab background, active tab, inactive tab, all those settings, how we added the, where's the, up here, how we added the little alien monster. So set Q tab bar, menu bar button. We've got the little monster there. And the way we did that, again, you run Control XT8. This would, oh no, Control X8 return. And then you can start typing the name of a icon. So like foot. So from like foot, there we go, foot. And it's inserted. Oh, you bastard. There we go. So it's inserted the foot there, and get, or you can do Emacs. Is it insert-char? Yeah. And that's basically the same thing. Okay, so it's like inserted the ball of yarn. So that's how you can insert the characters. You can, you know, menu bar, tab bar, menu bar hide or something like. So you do tab bar, and you'll see all these sort of different options you've got, which you could obviously bind to keyboard shortcuts if you want. So that's tab bar, do Modeline, diode all the icons, and how you can also add the menu to the tab bar, and also set the icon to a custom Unicode icon as well. And that's all for now, and I'll put links to all this under the video. I don't think I've forgot anything. Again, that was I put links to how you install the Doom Modeline, all the icons dired. And remember, you have to, after you've installed them, you have to run Emacs, all the icons, install fonts, and make sure to add this bit of code at the top of your init.el to prevent Emacs from lagging when you're opening it up. And then you put required Doom Modeline 1, and that enables the Doom Modeline. And again, we've got the tabs down here with setting the background bar, the active tab, the inactive tab, all these different options. There are other tab things you can use, like centaur tabs. So centaur tabs is something that's sort of more stylized. So this will look much more like a regular sort of browser. I did try this, but one thing I found is what it does is by default it groups stuff together. So if you've got like org files or different kind of files, it will open a whole new tab bar with just those things. So it was a bit annoying because you might have a terminal open in one tab and then want to open a file in another tab, and what it would do is it hides the current set of tabs and creates a new set, and you kind of got to switch between the groups, which I found annoying and I couldn't figure out. So this is centaur tabs, which has got sort of icons and different styles, so that's much prettier. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can use that. But as I said, I just found some of the behavior in it a bit irritating. And the other thing is it actually does take up a sort of lot more space than having a sort of shorter one. And the other issue is that we're using the built-in functionality of the Emacs tabs rather than having to use a third-party thing, which I kind of prefer to use the built-in version. So this is the section on the tab bar on the Emacs manual. So I put links to this here with all these keyboard shortcuts. But yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice just being able to have a sort of list of things rather than let me just exit. So normally, you say you'd be working and you'd sort of switch between stuff all in the same sort of frame, as it were. Switch back like this, switch between different things. Okay. Yep. But actually having the tabs sort of visible does make it easier to know what kind of buffers you've got open. So it's just really nice just being able to switch between them like that. So if you're working with some text or something, some text, and then you want to switch to the terminal, it's just much easier being able to sort of switch back and forth, and having sort of the workspaces. And again, you can split the windows, and the split only applies to that tab. So when I switch to the terminal, you see I've got a completely different layout. So that's another sort of nice feature, is it remembers the window sort of settings. So you've got really easy ways of switching between the tabs. Just shift control tab, control shift tab, and probably the most useful one is control XT return, and So for example, if I want to switch to the V terminal here, can't type V terminal, you can see, because it's got asterisks, so you've got to type asterisk V terminal. If I want to switch to the scratch, oops, you've got to type asterisk scratch. So you've got nice functionality of being able to sort of switch, and again, you can just drag these around like that. But there's also keyboard shortcuts that you can use to move them about. So I'll put links to all this, all the keyboard shortcuts, the tab setup, do Modeline, the Centaur tabs, and if you do system crafters tab bar, yeah, the hidden value of the Emacs tab bar. Got a couple of a long video and a short video about the Emacs tab bar and how you can sort of style it. And I pinched a little bit of code, but what I found was I wanted to be able to style the inactive tab and active tabs, and the way he was doing it, it was basically adding a bit of custom code to add a little icon before the sort of tabs. What I found was you had to faff about with the line height and stuff to get, because otherwise, if the icon was bigger than the text, it looked a bit weird. And also, it meant I couldn't figure out how to style the active tabs and inactive tabs. So that's where I got some of the code from. But this is just basically setting the faces for the tab bar, the active tab, the inactive tab, as you can see here. So it's quite subtle, and as I say, you can have the little alien monster there. I'm not sure if I like the alien monster or not. I might keep him. I might put him in. But yeah, you can also add anything from the Doom Modeline to the right of the tab bar menu here as well. So all in all, I think adding Doom Modeline sort of pretty stuff up. The diode, all the icons is handy, and definitely the tab bar is a real improvement. It's available in Emacs 27, but there have been some changes made in Emacs 28. So I'm running Emacs 29 here that I showed you how to install with Nix PKG. So this is running purely as a GTK application, running as a native Wayland application. So this is Emacs as a native Wayland application built with GTK, and again we've got the vterm terminal there as well. So basically got everything you want in one program. Nice little tabs there. Yeah, I'm kind of growing on the little the monster there. I think I'll keep him. But we've got all these options down here in the file menu, and again, hiding the menu bars really helpful, especially if you're running maximize, because you'll see here we've got the title bar here, we've got the system bar here, then you've got that, then you'd normally have the menu bar, and it really pushes everything down. So this is nice and compact, and we've still got access to our menu here. Did run into some issues not being able to figure out how to get the certain Unicode characters to be added. I couldn't figure out how to get the Emacs icon. If I create a desktop test.el, okay, if I switch to the desktop, you can see here we got a Emacs icon here for EL files, files with an EL extension, and there is a bit of code in .config Emacs elper diode, all the icons diode, is it? In one of these, I thought there was a is it in data file icons? Okay, file icons, yeah, that's it. So in the, which one was it? Sorry. Emacs-el put all the icons data. There's the data file icons.el, and you can see we've got a hex code here for Emacs and elisp. So one thing I couldn't figure out was actually how to get this to work. So if I do Control X, invalid character. Okay, so weird thing is, if I insert this, it comes out as a different character. It comes out as a totally different character. So I haven't actually worked out how to add the hex for some things. So that's why I chose the alien monster. So that's where some of the hex for the all the icons are, and you should be able to sort of insert them, but I can't figure out. So I can't figure out how to actually take this and put that there. Maybe I'm missing something. So if you know what it is, you know, let me know. But I'll put links to all this under the video. But I think this is quite nice improvements, having all the icons here, so you can see it's just showing red because it's not been saved. So if I save it, it's now been saved. So it's quite nice, and you can see here it's showing sort of like how many sort of buffers we got open here. And again, that's it there. So you do get some weird issues with all the icons diode, where it will show you particular icons depending on the file name. So normally, you know, in your home directory, you've got documents, downloads, movies. You've got a folder that has got the word movies in it. As you can see here, Dire Straits making movies. It's going to add the movies icon. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out about that. But yeah, I think that's quite nice, and it's really useful. And said you have got things like centaur tabs, but you know they're a lot bigger and they're going to push your prompt down. Whereas this is quite subtle. You know, you can easily see which one you're on, and it doesn't take a lot of code just to knock this up. You just got to style a tab bar, the active tab, and the inactive tab. And again, this is how you do stuff like hide the close and new tab buttons, set the default tab choice, and again how we added the little monster. So I think I'll keep the monster. I'll put that back, and that's all for now. And I'll put links to all this under the video.